Hi guys, and welcome back to the Time Bomb channel with a rather excited Bombardier. Watch we have for you today has been lent into the channel for review, and it has me champing and chomping at the bit like a rabid racehorse. So tally ho ginger and chocks away Biggles, let's get in here. What we have for your delectation today from Zero West watches is the S4-P9427 limited edition. This is number 54 out of only 80 of this model. And why only 80? Well, it's to celebrate the 80th anniversary of the Battle of Britain. Zero West watches are located down on the south coast of England, and there are three, so just before I tell you that, I'll give you a shot of the watch in its box. There are three watch lines in their quiver. There is aviation, marine and automotive, and these are just a few of those models that are available, and I'll add a link down below to their website. Just to add again that this watch was lent into the channel by the owner, and I have no connection at all with Zero West watches. So anyway, I'm struggling to control my urge to ramble on here, so as I'm doing that, I'm just going to glove up and readjust the camera. Okay, so as I was saying, so what has got me so stoked about this watch? Well, quite simple, really. Part of this watch has been made from the recast metals found on a World War II Spitfire that was shot down in 1940. This image from the Zero West website shows some of what was pulled up from under the sea. Ever since I was a kid, I've kind of had a soft spot for the Spitfire. Maybe it was the sound of the engine, the smooth curved line of the wings, or just its movement. It sort of seemed to fly a little bit, almost quite slowly through the air. Gives me the proverbial pimples. But yes, whilst I'm waxing lyrical, we should remember that this watch is a homage, and it is a homage to the pilot of that Spitfire, Sergreant Klein, who was the 22-year-old Polish pilot shot down in combat. And these are some photos of him in his Polish and then RAF uniforms, and I've copied these from the Battle of Britain London Monument website. There's again a link down below. His story is a pretty emotional one. My understanding is that he flew in the Polish Air Force before then finding his way across to join the British Air Force in France, before he then made it back to, or over to England in February 1940. Flew Spitties up until he was sadly shot down November 1940 while he was flying with 152 Squadron. When I lived in London, the garage where I used to get my motorcycle tyres changed was up near the Polish War Memorial, and it was always a very, very reassuring symbol to ride past. And I found here on there's a memorial to 152 Squadron down on the south coast to men like these, and it does really choke me up looking at these old timers, thinking of the sacrifices that they made, and then how nowadays their memorials are getting defaced in the name of something or other. And yeah, me showing this photo on this video probably means that this channel is never going to get monetized, but you know what, stuff that. Back to the watch. So Ziggy's Mark I Spitty was found by some fishermen on the south coast and gradually brought back up to land, and then the chaps at Zero West Watches had the exemplary foresight to use some of the interior references of the cockpit and then the metals from the Rolls-Royce Merlin engine casing to shape this timepiece, and I am, even if the camera isn't, I am besotted. It's just absolutely stunning in every way. There isn't an angle on this watch, there isn't an aspect about it that I can fault if I find ugly or superfluous or anything. I mean, it's just absolutely superb. What we're looking at then is a 44mm across case. It's about 14 mils thick, so it's not a slipping under the shirt sleeve type of watch. But it does then have a slightly reduced 49.5 mils top to bottom lugs, so it should sit quite comfortably on wrist. And then, as you can see, you have these awesome PVD lugs on either side, which are then held in by those silvered screws, which has the same finishing as the case itself. But as you can see, I mean, just so clean, so brilliantly executed. I mean, it is a stunning timepiece. One, I'm not sure, it's kind of the ones where you think, yeah, God, I want to wear that every day, but then, that first scratch, that first ding on it is just going to break your heart. But anyway, while I'm rambling, let's get back to some of the details on the watch. So over on the side here, you have then this brass finished screwed down crown that actually emulates the firing button on the joystick of the Spitfire, and in turn provides you then with 100 meter water resistance. Onto the dial, you've got these sort of sharp, needly hour and minute hands, which is then contrasted with this lovely redded sweeping second hands. You've got retro numeral font on the dial, with this Flieger style chrono, which is then of course balanced out on the right hand side with the Zero West logo there at 3 o'clock. And basically that sort of like inner Flieger chrono sort of reflects the Spitfire's cockpit dials, as you can see on this image here. Under the those printed on numerals and dial details, you have an enamel dial, and again it's superb to see enamels, because I think they add a sort of a gritty warmth and depth to the visuals of the dial. You might be able to see through the macro shots here just a little bit better what that actually looks like. And then, as you can see from these loom shots, you have commendable quantities of Super Luminova X1 loom in green on those hands and digits across the dial. Again, just looks absolutely stunning. And down at the bottom here, again, perhaps on the macro, we can see there's a little clearer. We have the date that Zygmunt was shot down on, and then the longitude and latitude coordinates in Poole Bay, where his Spitfire was found. Onto the top, you basically just sitting under. It doesn't protrude greatly. I mean, just fractionally over the bezel top, you have a sapphire crystal. I'm not quite sure if we can get it in this lighting, but you do have this really slight bluing of the AR coating underneath, but it's not heavily done. It's quite subtle. I think just adds, just even a touch more attractiveness, magnetism to that dial. Purring away inside, you don't unfortunately have a mini Merlin engine here, but you do have an ETA 2824, and that's a movement that you're going to find in Stowers, Steinhardts, Breitlings, Christopher Wards, etc. And it's quite a big movement, which in turn indicates perhaps why the overall case dimensions of this watch are as they are. Then onto the pièce de la résistance on the case back. What we have then, if the camera will allow me to show you this is the recast aluminum, which then is laser engraved. Okay, recast or resmelted, perhaps there's a better term for it, the aluminum, which came from the plane's engine casing. It's been sitting under the sea until these wizards got their hands on it, resmelted it, chopped it up into these little discs, and then laser engraved. I mean, superb. And then, of course, the P9427, referring to the plane that this came from, that Zygmunt flew. And then, of course, surrounding that, we have Churchill's famous tribute wording coming from the speech that he made in the summer of 1940, which, to me and to many others, I think encapsulates perfectly the sacrifices that so many people made. I mean, again, it's almost a sad thing to put it on the back of the watch, because you kind of want to look at it regularly to see. But again, what I like that they have done is that they've blacked out that sort of retaining circle there onto the case back. I mean, yeah, really nice. The strap that we're looking at here is this vintage leather. It's not bought in from anyone and made anyone. It's made actually handmade by Zero watches themselves. Again, you can just actually see that the stitching is not perfect and not perfectly aligned, but I really don't care. I just think it just sort of wiggles along just nicely there, and again just sort of adds to that sort of vintage style. And then topped off with a PVD'd and engraved buckle at the top. I'll show you then the insides there, single keeper, and then obviously the Zero West logo just over here. Yeah, doesn't take much imagination, I think, also to see that or appreciate that that leather in time is going to age beautifully, absolutely beautifully. So final thoughts. Well, what can I say? As a fitting tribute to the men and women who fought in the war, and specifically Sergreant Klein, this watch is both humble and incredible. As a museum piece on your wrist, which is backed up by some solid research and attention to design detail, to me it's exemplary. I would go as far as saying that without micro brands like Zero West watches, the watch world for us punters would be a far more generic place. So I think that they should be applauded, and loudly. Is there a downside? Hell, yeah, there is. And that is that I can't buy one, as I can't afford to buy one. If some bizarre chance Zero West are listening here, if there's any chance that you guys could put together a watch for those of us who can't afford to spend £2,500 on a watch, please. Something in the region of £300 to £500 would be ideal. However, I apologise. I know that's a very, very selfish perspective, and in fact, if you consider the work and the history that has gone into creating this watch, then I think many other watch manufacturers would easily charge you double for something like this. So yeah, clearly the issue is mine and not the watches. Anyway, guys, just while I wrap up, give you a final overview of the watch. As I say, really, really fortunate, to have this shared with the channel. Hope you guys have enjoyed it. Hope it's tickled your tickly bits as it has done mine. I really do, as always, look forward to your comments down below. And until next time, this is your host, the Bombardier, signing off. Cheers, guys.